Real ones with me, I know we gon' beat the odds. Counterfeit, guess it from the thought of it. People fake, think they need to start a kid. Tryna be real, this right here.
Huge thank you to today's sponsor, Giant Snacks. Giants is a small family-owned business that specializes in premium flavor and giant snack sizes.
From sunflower seeds, pistachios, pumpkin seeds, and cashews, Giants has all the great snacks you need.
Don't forget some of the great flavors that they offer between dill pickle and sweet Thai chili.
Or whatever craving you have.
Check out some of the newest flavors coming to a store near you this fall.
Big Easy cashews and Big Easy sunflower seeds.
Available soon online or at a store near you. Once again, huge thank you to Giant Snacks for sponsoring this podcast.
Now let's get back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the Beyond the Spotlight podcast, hosted by myself. My name is Jack.
And I'm Aiden.
And today we have Matthew with us here. I got a little intro written up for you. Today we're thrilled to have Matthew Wurnig with us, the mastermind behind the viral TikTok account 50 Dates, 50 States. Known as the Tik Tok Bachelor, Matthew has gathered over 600,000 followers and an incredible 35 million likes. His journey consists of traveling to all 50 states, going on dates with women from each, and sharing these experiences through social media. His story even earned him a feature on Good Morning America after completing season 2. We're excited to dive into your experiences today. Welcome to the podcast, Matthew.
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate you having me. It's good to be in Wahpeton, North Dakota. I love it, man.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you. I've been watching your content for a while, so it's like pretty crazy that we're able to sit down and talk to you. So we appreciate you coming in. But for the people who might not be as familiar with your content, can you give us a little elevator pitch about what you do, who you are, where you're from?
Yeah, for sure, man. So from Montana, and I've kind of bounced around throughout my youth and stuff, but I like to just say I'm from Montana. College here in North Dakota at NDSU. And studied sport management with a minor in business. And after college, graduated and worked for the Bismarck Larks baseball team in Bismarck, North Dakota. So got a lot of North Dakota roots here, which I love. But when I was working for the baseball team, I decided to create this lovely endeavor that you had a great intro for. So thank you for that. 50 Dates, 50 States. That's kind of my claim to fame and where my credibility lies now. I created it during COVID, when everybody was locked in and no one really knew what to do. I decided to go on a virtual date with a girl in every state, and that kind of just blew up from there. So I decided to quit my job and go visit all the girls I went on virtual dates with in person. That was season 1. Then I did it all again in bigger, better fashion in season 2. And so, I've met a lot of people, gone on a lot of dates, create a lot of content, and so that's just kind of my full-time thing now is just growing the brand and doing content creating.
So are we working on season 3?
We are. So season 3, there's been a lot of different directions it's gone. But what my plan is for season 3, since I've done this twice and have gone on all these dates and stuff, I gotta eventually hang up the cape. And so I'm gonna have a girl do it.
Really?
Yep. And I'm gonna have a girl go on a date with a different guy in every state, and then I'm gonna transition to like the host role. And so I'll be more of a host to the show and everything like that versus being like the star of it.
That's a great way to kind of exit yourself out of it and continue the path. So it's like the channel's still going, but you're not the main person every time.
Yeah, exactly. And so I have like a lot of really fun concepts behind it and everything. One of them is this really cool idea about breaking hearts. I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Give me your feedback. So when I've done this in the seasons, it's just been there hasn't been an end game to it. It's just been we've like gone on dates, and now granted at the end of season 2, I had my top 4 on Good Morning America and picked a winner there, but that was not really planned, right? But for this new season, I want to add like this elimination factor to it. And so what I'm gonna do is each guy in each state. They'll receive a heart with a wooden heart with their state on the back. So let's say you were the highlighted guy that she was going on a date with here, right?
Yep.
You would have a heart and it says North Dakota. And at the end of the date, you give her that heart, and then she has to decide right then and there if she's going to take it or break it. And she can only keep a total of like, let's say 5 hearts out of all 50 dates she goes on. Wow. And so that adds this whole extra like elimination layer, and like there's this heaviness to the date. Then it's like, some guy could be thinking he's a Romeo and he's really crushing it. Then at the end, he's like, "Here's my heart," and she just like, and that's just like as a dude, that'd be painful, man.
That'd be great to be on the host side of things.
100%. Yeah. I could never if I was in a position to do that with like the dates I've gone on, I couldn't do it. Like I am such a people pleaser. Like I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and so I'm like I couldn't do that. So I'll have somebody else who could do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So do a little bit like a bachelorette kind of a vibe.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, because I think that's one thing I noticed just with like views and viewership and stuff is like people wanted an outcome, because having
Right.
50 just different date episodes and it's just like, oh, another date. And like, it's interesting because it's obviously new girls, new states, new experiences, but there's still like there wasn't really an outcome. And so, and let's say the winning or the winning date in the new season, like they don't have to get married,
Right.
like they don't have to be boyfriend, girlfriend. Like, that's where I think a lot of reality shows kind of miss the boat. They force this like
Right.
fake marriage, or like all the Bachelor people who get married, they get divorced.
Right.
Like it's just, so yeah, try to keep it more authentic.
So what did you go to college for, did you say?
Sport management with a minor in business.
So going into college, did you have a plan outside like what you were going to do following, or have you always wanted to be a content creator?
No, I definitely had no plans of diving into the content creator world. Like I always thought like videos and like video editing was kind of fun. And like making videos, but I like, it was more just kind of fun stuff on the side. But I really wanted to, I'm a big basketball guy. I love the NBA and stuff. And so I wanted to eventually just like work my way up and work for a pro NBA team and like handle the entertainment in one. Like I thought that would be really cool. But then when I created this and some of the experiences I've been creating during 50 Dates, 50 States and diving into the content creator world, this world is like so much fun. And I've been doing it full time for like 3-ish years now, or 3.5 years. And it's just so much fun, and like the opportunities you get, and with my brand of traveling, meeting people, sponsors, like, I don't know. And it's rewarding too for me. Like if I create a video or I come up with an idea and then I see it blow up on socials or it goes viral, I'm like, cool. Like my idea made other people laugh or smile or share or react, and, grows my account and credibility and popularity. So it's kind of like a fun game in a way.
So when and how did you start the 50 Dates, 50 States idea?
Yeah, so in COVID, when I was going on the virtual dates, like I had no idea what I was doing when it came to content. I just was like, oh, like I'm going to do this, this fun endeavor, kind of like this pandemic project, because everybody was bored. Nobody knew what was going on. We just were sitting inside. And so, and also the world was like just really negative at the time. Like it was COVID, and then it turned political, and like everything just got really messy. And so I was like, oh, maybe I could create something fun and lighthearted where it could turn people's attention away from the negativity. Right. And so, I had no idea what I was doing. I think I was on like my 8th virtual date, and I was on my date, my Oregon date with a gal named Maisie. And Maisie goes, you should start like posting about this on TikTok. And I didn't even have TikTok. Like I was posting clips on like Instagram and Facebook. Like I had no idea what I was doing. And then I was like, okay, but I thought TikTok was just like a high school like dancing app type thing. I didn't really know. So, but then I downloaded it and I was like, oh, like this would be interesting. So then I just started like throwing out clips and stuff, and if I look back at like my old content, it like makes my skin crawl. It's like, but everybody starts somewhere, right?
Yep.
And the most important thing is just to start, take massive action, try, and then you figure it out along the way. It's just same as doing a push-up. You do one push-up, and then eventually you do 5, and then 10, and then 25. So like the more content reps, the more you get familiar with editing and styles and algorithms. Like you just kind of find your rhythm to an extent, and so yeah, I just did that, and then it caught a wave, which is cool.
So 50 Dates, 50 States, I have asked a whole bunch of friends because I knew that you were coming on. I'm like, what are some good questions to ask? And most of them were like, what is your favorite date that you went on?
Well, I'd be wrong if I didn't say my favorite date as in girl was Cassidy, my Illinois date in season 2, because she was my winner. I picked on Good Morning America. So she was like my favorite date girl. But in terms of like the actual fun I had on a date, I would probably say it's tough. It's really hard to pick one. I'll give you like a handful.
I'm sure it is.
But Belle from New Mexico, we went hot air ballooning, and that was just so cool, like being on a hot air balloon. And we went to like this really cool Brazilian steakhouse where they like sear the meat off the stick and everything, and that was really cool. And we rode this tram up this beautiful mountain, and then at the top we had some drinks and just chilled. It was beautiful views, so that was really cool. Hawaii, my date with Olivia, that was awesome. We went parasailing, and we went surfing, and went and rode like e-bikes where they filmed like Jurassic Park and Kong.
Wow.
And so like that was just like super sweet. And when moments like that too, I'm a very grateful person. Like sometimes I'll just like take a step back and I'm like, am I really just like in the middle of Hawaii, like riding on a bike with like
Right.
a beautiful date right now? I'm like, when I started this in a small little apartment in North Dakota, and so like so it's cool to take a step back and look at those things. But yeah, those are a couple of my, favorite experiences, along with, I could talk about all of them, but there's some highlighted ones.
And favorite state?
Hawaii.
Really?
Hawaii is my favorite state, just because like it's so you can't help but just be happy there. Like the food, the experiences, the people, the scenery. Like, have you guys ever been to Hawaii?
Never.
So it's just, I don't know, it's just so much fun. And when I go there, like that's one of the states I don't have the 50 Dates, 50 States vehicle, right?
Yep.
And since I fly there, and so I every time I've only been there twice with the season 1 and season 2, but the times I'm there, I rent a moped and I just whip around the island. It's just so fun, but I really like it. If we were to go like mainland, in the lower 48 states, I'd probably say, that's tough. That's really tough. I really like the Carolinas. I like North and South Carolina, right in that region, like Hilton Head Island and Savannah, Georgia. Like those two areas I really like. And then I do really like the triangle in the lower west of Vegas, LA, and Phoenix. Like those are all just a lot of poppin' areas. And especially for content creating, there's a lot of opportunities down there. So I like those areas as well.
That's unbelievable. Like how do you feel about the driving? I'm sure the driving is unbelievable. Takes forever to get from. I mean, you're going the whole U.S. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I love driving. I love it. Like I don't know. I can cruise. It gives me time to like think or plan or. Season 2 was different because my cameraman I had with me on the road, and so he did a lot of the driving while I would sit there and like work or edit or things like that. Or my editor would send me a draft of the episode, and so then I'm going through and I'm like making more edits to it and things like that. And so that gave me a lot of time to work, which was nice, because when you're stuck in a car, like you could either just sit there, listen to music, or like get some work done. And so that was nice having a companion on the road in season 2 to do that. But no, I love driving, man. I love traveling and like seeing different things, and just like, and also one of my favorite things in the world when I'm driving is, since I'm basically traveling in a vehicle that's like a walking billboard, of my brand. Like I always have interactions with followers where people are on the highway and they honk, or they're filming me, or they're waving, or I mean, there's also sometimes where I'm getting followed, which can be stressful. But no, it's like I love the interaction with fans, or if people don't even know what it is, and I'm just like at a gas station and they go, "What's this about?" And then I can just like tell them, and then I'll throw them a business card or whatever. Like I think it's just fun storytelling. And if I stop at a gas station, someone asks what it is, and they're like, "Oh, where'd you go on a date in Indiana?" Like, that's where you're from.
Right.
And then I could just relate to someone that way. So
Even here, didn't you say you had someone come up to you at the shop and say something?
Yeah. Right when I pulled up, the dude pulled up and he goes, "Dude, you're the 50 Dates guy." And I'm like, "Yep." And he goes,
Even in Wapaton.
"Yeah." And he's like, "What are you doing in Wapaton?" And I'm like, I'm gonna hop on a podcast. And then he's like, "What's it called?" And I shared it with him. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to look it up." And I'm like, "All right,
Perfect.
There we go.
That's awesome.
You're getting us fans.
Yeah, plugging away. Yeah.
Perfect. So we want to get onto the emotional side with you about this. I mean, it's got to be damn near impossible to not catch feelings for these girls. You've been on 100 dates. Have you ever caught real feelings for any of these women? And like, at any point, have you been like, after the season is done, I'm going to come back to you?
There's definitely been a couple where I like felt something a little more. It's tough for me because in this mindset of 50 Dates, 50 States, and it's hard to it's hard to understand unless you've like been in that position. But if you go on a date with someone, like let's say you guys go on one date every 2 months, like that date's gonna feel like pretty special because you don't go on like that many dates, or it's not as common. When I'm going on 3 or 4 dates a week, it becomes a little like it doesn't feel as special because you do it so much, right? And so I tried to go in with everyone of just like an open mind, have a fun, creative like experience, and I want to treat them. I want to have them like have a fun time and show them things they've never done before: hot air ballooning, zip lining, parasailing, things like that, right? And so if I found love or caught feelings along the way, it was like a bonus more so. But for me, I really just prioritized like growing the brand and creating the content and showing these people a cool experience and then highlighting that across social media. And if there were some girls along the way that it seemed like it'd be like if I was looking for someone really long term, then that'd be perfect. But for me, I just want to really make sure I have everything figured out in my life in the sense of like I am accomplishing what I want to do and chasing my dreams and goals before I really like get serious and bring someone else into my life. Because I know how I am, and as soon as I get a girlfriend, I'm gonna be a simp. I'm gonna put her needs before my own, and I want to make sure like I'm not distracted by what I'm trying to pursue. And so as soon as I like, you know, kind of achieve all the things I want to do, like with my brand and some of these things just in my young 20s, like then, you know, go from there.
Do you have a girl in mind that you might want to go back to after this is all done?
Well, hopefully she'd be single. But I mean, I think I would definitely like try to like reignite something with this is gonna
you're gonna get in trouble for this. You might get in trouble.
This is gonna sound so wrong when I say like a couple of them, but there's, it just depends on, like, there's a couple I think would have a lot of potential and fit my lifestyle really well. But, you know, who knows, that could be in a year or 2 years and they could be happily in a relationship or married, or who knows. So
What about the other way around? Do you ever have girls that catch feelings for you and you're like, sorry, I'm going on a date tomorrow? You know what I mean?
That's not how this works.
Yeah, that's a good question. So there have been a couple that like caught feelings hard, which I'm like, I was super surprised about because like I guess, you know, and I don't want to be ignorant to anybody else's feelings, but for me, I feel like it's really hard to just like catch feelings super hard for someone on one date. You got to get to know them a lot more, right? Like you barely know this person. And so for me, like I'd never caught super hard feelings for anyone. Like, again, I'd like maybe have something where I could feel like a spark in a way. But yeah, there was a couple. I remember one of my dates, she like sent me this really long text, like multiple texts of just like how she felt and all these things. And I will be honest, I handled it really poorly. Like I didn't respond for like a while. Like I didn't respond for probably like 2 weeks or something. And like I was busy, but I could have taken 5 minutes or 10 minutes to like write something nice back and like, you know, but I just like didn't really know what to say, and I didn't want to like rush into something. And so I was like, I want to make sure I take the time to like respond in the right way. And then she got mad that I didn't respond right away when she put her feelings on the line. And then it creates drama with her and some of the other dates. And then it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, so there's been a couple that shared their feelings and whatnot. But, you know, I think just being courteous to it, where I'm like, hey, you know, I'm kind of I have a season to complete. Like I'm the date travel guy. And, you know, that is one thing with me is I kind of get a pass with that, especially now, like, and even during the season, but like, people, or when I go on dates with girls, they know going in most of the time that I'm like the 50 dates guy, and I'm just kind of the date, fun, content creating, travel experience guy. So there's more of just like a fun element to it. So the date's on like a lighter side versus like this weight of, is he gonna be the one? Because it's more just like the fun, I guess. So
have you ever had any problems with any girls like quote unquote exposing you, or like having some experience where it's like, I'm going to share this to the whole world? You know what I mean? Anything like that?
Well, in both seasons, so I had a group chat with all 50 of my dates in it. And then they also had a group chat without me in it.
That's risky right there to have a group chat.
Yeah.
Oh, they're definitely talking shit about us.
Yeah, 100%. And so like that was like always like something in the back of my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know, in girls, like it's like locker rooms, right? Like locker rooms, like guys talking about girls talking about guys, like all these different things. And so it's like, oh no, what are they sharing about me? What are they like? Did one of them have one little bad experience? And then like, and also like there's this wave of just like, you know, girl power, girls support girls. And so if one girl had a bad experience with me and then like, and they share that, then all of them are like, wow, how could he? Like, what a dick. Like, you know, and it just goes in, and it's like, you know, I remember one time, this was pretty funny, and I didn't think anything of it. Like, I don't know. For the dating app sponsor, I had done I was filming like a funny way to promote him on TikTok. And so me and my date in season 1, it was my Oklahoma date. Me and her, we were in my hotel room, and I filmed this like, I don't know, I was filming a sponsor video for this dating app. And basically like at the end of it, like we looked at each other, and then she like went in for the kiss, and then like the camera cut off, which I was just like being fun, playful about it, like whatever. But my dates took that in like a really bad way because it's me and my date alone in my hotel room.
Right.
She's about to kiss and then it cuts off. And so obviously it like leaves up for interpretation and stuff like that. I thought it was just funny. I didn't really like think anything into it. And I thought it was a fun way to promote the dating app. And the dating app loved it too. Like they thought it was awesome. But a handful of my dates were like really sensitive about it. And they were like, hey, you know, like our families are watching this journey. And like, you know, if they see me going on a date with someone and they get the wrong interpretation of him like staying the night in the hotel room with all his dates and stuff. And I understood that. I guess thought it was more just like a funny TikTok. I didn't think it was like that deep. But then, you know, then all the girls start getting, some of them get mad, some of them are threatened to drop out and all this stuff. And it's just like, oh, geez. And so that was like, you know, something I had to deal with at one point. But there's been a lot of different drama. I mean, you get 50 different girls, there's going to be drama. And so, yeah.
How do you, what's the application process like for these girls to go on a date with you from these states?
Yeah, so it was really simple. So the application was just your typical information, like name, date of birth put on there so we know what age and everything. And then what state you're in and what like city you're by or near in. And then the only 2 questions we asked on the app, and then like social media handles and stuff. But the only 2 questions we ask on the application, aside from like that basic information, is if you were selected as one of the dates, what would you plan for the date? And then just tell us a little bit about yourself. And those 2 questions, along with their other information, is all I really need to like filter things out. Because one, you could see how creative they are. If they're like, oh, if I was selected, I would do A, B, C, D, E. After like they go through this whole creative process. Others where they're not creative and they're just like, oh, we'd go have dinner, and it's like, okay, like, off to the wayside. And then when they're telling me about themselves, like if they go in depth and they're like really talkative within that, on the date they're going to be talkative and they're not going to be awkward and things like that. And so that's all I really needed. Then obviously looking them on social media, but the number one things I looked for when picking a date was location, age, what their idea was for the date, and then I'd be a liar if I said
looks.
I have to be attracted to them, right? For sure, like that's a huge thing, and so like I want to be attracted to them, and I want to see if and also like looking at socials to see if they're maybe outgoing and things like that, to see if they'd be good on camera. I mean, it's a roll of the dice, but like kind of just play it like that.
It is for the content too. It's not like you just are going to go pick somebody. It's like, would this person be good on camera? Trying to gauge that off of their social medias too.
So there's 50 states. Out of each of the states, roughly, how many applications do you think you get?
So I don't know because season 1 there were no applications. It was just I had already
like you picked them.
Yes, season 1, since I did it virtually, I was matching with all of them through Tinder. And then once I had gained some traction, then girls would like DM me and stuff, and I didn't have a website where people could apply because it was just like starting out. So that was just like Tinder and social media was season 1. But season 2, when I had the application, I don't know how many applied per state, but we did have over 10,000 applications in less than 2 months. Wow. And so like that was like extensive to go through.
You got 10,000 people trying to go out on a date with you. Dude, how does that feel?
It was funny because I'd be sitting there and like, I'd just be grinding on like, because I had an Excel sheet and I would organize them all through like the, through states A through Z. And I remember like sometimes I'd sit there and I'd just be like, oh my gosh, like, and I'd start like complaining to myself about what I was doing. And then I'd be like, am I really complaining about like organizing all these girls that are applying to go on a date with me? I'm like, I need to stop right now. And so, but it's a cool feeling. And I mean, but like I look at it more on credibility towards the brand. Nothing to like, is it cool for me? And like, does it slightly stroke the ego? Sure. but I look at it more in the sense of credibility to the brand. So when I talk to people or news outlets or whoever, then it's like, oh, like 50 dates, 50 states, they got 10,000 applications for this for a season. And that was season 2, right? Like it's only going to grow and get bigger. So
I was looking through your TikTok and I saw the one that you had pinned where you had every single girl. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming you can't like stick to a type because that'd be lame. If you just only had brunettes or only had blondes on your page. Yep. So is that kind of something that I guess your man or like the people your bosses or whatever tell you that you have to kind of have a little bit of a diversity there? Yeah.
So season 1, it was just me, and so that was just like I didn't have management or anything. Season 2, management, they did like have they had their say in who they thought would be good and kind of a finalization process, and they definitely wanted some diversity in there and things like that. But for me, and the TikTok you referred to where it shuffles through all my dates,
Yep.
like that one just exploded, and I got a wave of hate from people just like saying, wow, he needs to add a little bit more flavor and spice and diversity, because like most people are just like, wow, all he has are like these white hot blondes.
Right.
And it's like, I think for me, from my perspective, is what people have to realize is that these girls apply, right? Like, so they apply and then we pick through, like, it's all just depends on who applies, right? Like if only white girls apply, if only black girls apply, if only Latinas apply, whatever, like it's up to me or not up to me, but like, whoever we pick, like they have to apply. And so if we don't get a lot of black girls who apply or Latinas that apply or whatever it may be, then like it's a short pool to pick from, right? It's a two-way street.
And at the end of the day, I mean, like you said earlier, it does matter. Like you can't, like if you want to go out on it, you have to want to go out on a date with them, you know?
100%.
So
yeah, so it's just like, it was an interesting thing, and it was funny though to like see it. Like I would just sit there and like eat my popcorn and watch this hate like unravel, because like it didn't like social media and like people that are trolling or hating or just being negative, like it doesn't ever bug me unless I actually feel like I did something wrong.
Right.
Then, but like that, I'm just like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like I picked girls who I was attracted to, who applied, who I thought would be a good fit for this. Like I didn't, and if people want to judge or get mad about that, like so be it. But there was one girl, I remember a friend of mine, she applied and she thought it was like the coolest thing. And when I like didn't pick her for the state, she just like flipped a switch and just was like, wow, like I can't believe he's doing this. And like, just like got mad about it. And so I think, there's some criticalness there and judgmentalness there, with people. But yeah, I just roll with it,
What's like the worst experience that you've had on all these dates?
I was on one that was extremely awkward. Like, I feel like I could sit here and talk to anybody for just hours. Like, I mean, I could talk to a wall for 10 minutes, Like, I'm pretty good at socializing and being personable. But this girl I was on a date with, it was just like, it started to become comical, like how hard it was to talk to. Like, I remember we were sitting in this diner, and I'll have some grace, and I'm not going to share, of course, who it is or anything.
Right.
But we were at this diner, and my cameraman's filming us, and we're sitting there, talking, and we're probably an hour-ish into the date, or hour and a half, and we're sitting there talking, and like you could tell he just starts laughing because of like how awkward it is. Like, she just like will not have, there's no dialect. There's just no, it'd be like if I asked you guys, like, you guys have been around people like this where you're like, oh, where are you from? And then they say, and then they don't say, how about you? Where are you from?
Right,
Like, there's no rebuttal. So for her, I'd be like, oh, like, what's your favorite kind of food? Or, whatever. And she'd be like, chicken strips. all right. Do you like any like dipping sauce? Like, I don't know. I just like try to figure like, but I just kept like stretching.
and you can't quit. It's not like you can leave.
yeah, exactly. And like, it was just so awkward, like to have conversations with her, and it was just so like dry, and oh my gosh. But so that was one there, and then I've had others where it's just like some bad energy and attitude and things like that. But
all right, everyone's thinking, and I'm gonna just ask you: are these girls trying to sleep with you? Are these girls trying to sleep with you? I just had to ask you, bro.
That is, well, so the two questions I get asked the most, hands down, from dudes is, how many did you sleep with?
What's your body count?
Yeah, that's hands down the number one question I get asked from guys. Girls ask, oh, how many did you fall in love with?
Right.
Which is so funny, just like the difference between guys and girls,
Yeah.
For me, what I'll say is that, like, I mean, I'm a single guy, travel in the U.S., going on dates with some pretty gals, So, like, you could use your imagination of maybe what goes down. However, what I will say, and like, I have a fun time or whatever, but what I will say is that, like, that is never a, like, goal of mine.
Right.
Like, I'm not some dude who's, like, trying to get a notch in the belt in every state, like, that's, like, not how I roll. But, like, if, me and my date, we have a good time and it gets a little romantic at the end of the night, then yeah,
At least you're honest about it.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Do some of the girls get like pissed off or something if you're not trying to go that direction, or anything, like any bad experience like that?
If I'm not trying to go in what direction?
Like, okay,
If
maybe
I'm not,
this is a bad question.
If
Maybe this is a bad question.
I'm not trying to like pull a move on them.
Yeah, exactly. And
like,
and they know other girls have been like, oh, Matt made a move on me today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's I'm picking up what you're putting down. So there have been, because again, like they have group chats, so they talk,
Right.
and I also like, and again, they could say what they want, but hopefully like they're respectful in the sense of like what they say to me, or what if they're like nice to me, they're not like a different way in the group chat, like, oh, this, or whatever. But for there have been, I'm trying to think of a specific one, but there's been a couple I remember who like texted me after our date, and they were like, hey, is there like any reason like you didn't kiss me or didn't like, and for me, man, like again, like I only really want to do that if like I'm attracted to him or I'm feeling it, or whatever it is. Like I've gone on plenty of dates where I'm just like, this is not it. Or like there's been some where they've been a little like, like real flirty with me, and I could tell I could like, shoot my shot and pull a move, but I just don't want to. Like I remember one date we were in the parking lot of my 50 Dates truck, and we were just sitting in there, and she was like, she really wanted to go up to my hotel room, and I was like, no, like I'm really tired, I have things to do, and I got editing and stuff, and I just like, but like I just didn't want to with her,
Right.
or I didn't want to do anything with her,
Right.
and so I don't know, that's like, again, it's not my priority. Like if we're both on the same wave and we have a fun time, like great, but like there's been a handful of times where
Do these girls just, obviously you're known as a 50 Dates, 50 States guy, so they know what they're getting into, and they get into it that it's not going to go long term, but is it a lot like for the clout, they want to come and like get in the video, or is it more? Huge thank you to today's sponsor, Giant Snacks. Giants is a small family-owned business that specializes in premium flavor and giant snack sizes.
From sunflower seeds, pistachios, pumpkin seeds, and cashews, Giants has all the great snacks you need.
Don't forget some of the great flavors that they offer between dill pickle and sweet Thai chili.
Or whatever craving you have.
Check out some of the newest flavors coming to a store near you this fall.
Big Easy cashews and Big Easy sunflower seeds.
Available soon online or at a store near you. Once again, huge thank you to Giant Snacks for sponsoring this podcast.
Now let's get back to the podcast.
like, are they in it for clout? Are they in it to go or actually get to know me?
Right.
For me, I think it's just like, it's a mixture, and I feel like I have a pretty good aim of knowing what their
Intentions?
Yeah, like there's some gals that I went on dates with that have OnlyFans, and they like really try to plug their OnlyFans, and so it's like, they'll look in the camera and they'll be like, at so and so, and it's just like, and so it's just like you can tell their intent was like, oh, let me get on this, social media show and like try to plug myself and stuff. Or like I remember, and this like would make me really, really mad, because sometimes just like in social media, there's so many tedious things with on-screen text, tagging, hashtags, filters, editing, like there's sound, like there's so many tedious things. So sometimes I would just like forget like to tag, or sometimes I wouldn't even really feel the need to tag like certain dates in like certain videos where maybe they just like show a little appearance or whatever if it's a video. And so some dates would text me and be like, hey, you didn't tag me in this, or hey, why can you tag me in this? And that's when you just immediately like, I know, I'm like, okay, well, like I know what you're in this for. And like literally like all their credibility to me goes out the window in the sense of like me picking them to be a finalist at the end or whatever, right? Like that's just like immediately I'm like, okay, you were in it for this, like no, and I can feel it out pretty early on, just how they are around my cameraman, how they interact with me, like I can tell pretty early on. But if a girl like, for me, my biggest thing that I loved the most was like the biggest green flag for me having somebody be part of 50 Dates, 50 States was the effort. If they put in like solid effort, like I thought that was awesome. Like so many of my dates, which is another bizarre thing, so many of my dates got me gifts. So I'd like show up and like they would just have like a gift basket ready for me of like the specific things that are unique to that state, right? So like, for example, in Maine, my date Ashley, she gave me like a bunch of this Old Bay. It's like a seasoning, that stuff for, or in Maryland, I think I said Maine, my bad, Maryland. And like it's this stuff called Old Bay, and it's like a certain kind of unique thing to them. And so she had bought me like all these different Old Bay things and hat and like it was like a really cool thing, but it's unique to the area and state. Everybody has like certain state things and things that are big with whether it's candy or merch or flowers or whatever it is. And so if dates, would give me those things and they planned a really cool date or they used a connection they had to, do something fun, like I could tell the effort was there. And also like, that's the beauty about 50 Dates, 50 States is that it creates this a little bit of competition. right? Where like if a girl is traveling to all 50 states, going on a different date with a guy in every state, and you're North Dakota, you're Minnesota, and I'm Montana, let's say, right? If she goes on a date with you two first, I'm gonna go, okay, what did they do and how can I do it better? Like
100%.
we're gonna be competitive. We're guys, and like same with girls. Like they got competitive, and so it's like, oh, I gotta outshine her. Oh, I want the followers to like me, type thing. And again, you have to walk that, or you have to figure out, are they doing it because they genuinely would do this, or are they like, oh, I want followers to love me and like me? But a little bit of both's not too bad. So just try to filter it out, and you can pick up where people's intentions are, I guess.
100%. I want to transition a little bit into the Good Morning America feature. That was unbelievable. Someone that's like on social media and transition into something like that where you got asked to do, that's a big deal, national television, you know? So tell us about how that experience came about, like how that opportunity came about.
Yeah, so that was like, just crazy. That was something I didn't ever, like I wasn't expecting at all. And I had got like a lot of news and press throughout the whole season, in both seasons, season 1 and 2. And
tons of news shows. I saw on your TikTok, like you clipped them all up, and it's like everywhere is posting about you.
Yeah, and how news media works, it's very fascinating. So, and I learned about this because I remember I was like doing a TikTok live one day, and someone was like, "I saw you on the news in Pennsylvania," and I was in like Texas, and I'm like, what? I was on the news in Pennsylvania. But how it works, how the media works, is that they all kind of share this same kind of network, like ABC, NBC is like, there'll be an ABC Iowa, an ABC Georgia. Like there's like these different networks and news stations all over, and they all kind of share this same like stream, right?
Sure.
And so my story I could be featured somewhere, but it could be picked up by all these other stations all across the U.S. And so sometimes the same story would just be ran all over, but like different anchors are like, saying their 2 cents about it and whatnot. And so I got, just a lot of press along the way. Like I've probably got over 100 different like interviews with like being on news, radio, magazines, newspapers, podcasts, like so many different things. But for Good Morning America, how that came about, I was in Hawaii, my 49th date, in my 49th state in season 2. And a producer reached out from Good Morning America, and they were just like, hey, Matt, like, I'm a producer with Good Morning America here in New York City, and we'd love to talk to you about like doing something with 50 Dates, 50 States. And so I'm like, oh, here we go, let's go, And so I hop on a call with her, and they didn't really have a specific idea in mind. They just wanted to do something for like a finale. So we kind of like talked about my timeline, my plans, what we were doing, and all this stuff. And I was basically like, I will do anything to be on there. Like now, I didn't show that because you want to, like you don't want to, you don't want to like sound like desperate, like oh please, like be begging. And so I'm just like, obviously very respectful and talking to them through things. And so what we decided to do is we decided initially. Now this is interesting. So initially, they wanted to have me bring my top 5 dates on Good Morning America, and then I pick my winning date live on air. So that was like what we decided to do, and then so we were like, okay, that's 100% what we're doing. So I pick my top 5 dates and I inform all of them. I call them, and that was like one of the coolest experiences in the world. Like calling my dates, calling like my top 5 and saying, hey, I want you to be on, like, we're going to do this thing and be on Good Morning America. Like, they're all going to fly us out to New York. And I'm like, getting that phone call from them, they're just like, what? Like, that is like crazy. And so it was like really rewarding for me that my brand like got to that level where I could show them like a unique experience, right? But then after I contacted my 5 dates, Good Morning America comes back and they say, well, Matt, actually, we can only have 3 of your dates. Ooh. And I've already told all 5, like, that they're going. And I'm like, I already told like 5 of them. And then I was like, is there any way, like, you're telling me I have to go back and basically tell 2 of my dates, like, never mind. And right. they're like, well, let's see what we can do. And so they went back, and then they met me in the middle, and they said you could bring your top 4. And so I was like, oh man, I was like, okay, so who am I like going to basically leave out? However, logistically, I'll just say it, whatever. Yeah. The other one I was going to bring was my Hawaii date, Olivia, but logistically, it was really hard for plane rides because that's literally opposite ends of the U.S., like Hawaii and New York City. And so they were like, Hawaii is going to be really tough to like logistically make this happen. And so like that would probably be our, that's not going to be able to in like time frame and what they had in mind. So I just had to call my Hawaii date and I had to tell her, and she's so chill. Like she is just the realest. And and she was like, no, I totally understand. And she wasn't like mad about it with me. She was such a chiller about it. And so, but yeah, then we all and it was hectic getting out to New York because like they were so, this was 2022. So this was so big with, like COVID restrictions of like, okay, hey, we need this, we got to see this, we got to do this. We have to all take these tests when we fly in, all these things. Yeah. And so when I go in there, like my biggest fear was, oh my gosh, like I'm going to have COVID. And like, because we had to do a test the night before and like submit it to them like that it was negative. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, because then they would just scrap our whole segment, right? If like I had it and I'm like, oh, so I was so nervous. But luckily, thank goodness, we were all clear, we were all good. And me and my dates, we show up in New York the night before. We all went and had a really nice dinner and at a Italian spot in New York City. And then went to a rooftop bar and all had drinks, which is just such a vibe. Like
just you and 4 girls
in New
just
York
me,
City.
Yeah, just me and my 4 dates, and we're gonna go on Good Morning America the next day,
That's
and we're just like
insane.
cheersing on this rooftop bar with like this. I'm just like, this is so dope. I'm
You're
like,
just a
this is-
kid from Montana that started making TikToks.
Yeah,
and it's
literally, yeah. And so I'm just like, this is so sweet. Like I'm like, what is life right now, And so then Good Morning America the next day happens, and we're out there, and what I didn't know is like when I get to the studio, like, and oh man, I felt like I was like Brad Pitt, like they had like security and there were photographers, and it was just like, what is going on, And we go into the studio, and I thought the studio was going to be like, I thought we were just going to be like in a newsroom, right? But they had like a whole set in the middle of Times Square for us, like for me and my day, like, and so middle of Times Square, New York, like it's just a ton of people walking around, and so like I'm like, this is all for me and like 50 dates, and they're like, yeah, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and so we go into our fitting rooms and stuff, and then we all come out and get ready to do our thing, and they have like cameras everywhere, and it's like, all right, and producers running around, and it's just like a wild thing, And then I just picked my winning date, live on air, picked Cassidy, and I remember, and I felt really bad because like I like to be a people pleaser, like I don't want to like reject people and all that stuff. And I remember my Missouri date, Sarah, who was in that group of girls there. She had told me later that she felt like she thought it was such a cool opportunity, but she also looked at it as being rejected on national television.
Right.
And I'm like,
seriously.
I'm like, oh, well, and like that makes me feel bad, but like, I mean, I can only pick one, like, and I mean, also, I guess I would say from like a date standpoint, like you're there,
And
like
they got a free trip.
yeah,
too.
like you got to be on TV, experience this whole thing, like everything paid for, like oh yeah, like I think there's more room to applaud versus like be sorrowful, and so, but yeah, picked my winning date, Cassidy, and then they gave us a free tickets to a Broadway show called Moulin Rouge.
Yes, yep.
And I'm like that's not really my world of like musicals, Broadway stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, I guess we'll see how this is. And it was so sweet. It was so dope. Like we had so much fun. It was blast.
They surprised you with that, right? You didn't know?
Yeah, I had no idea. I didn't know. Like I remember they said like we were maybe gonna go grab lunch or something like after or something. But that was kind of blurry. Like they didn't really say much. And so when they saw, I'm like, oh, like that's sweet. And so I was in New York for like a week after that because I had to go on the Tamron Hall talk show, which is a big talk show out there, and then
a date.
no, and then I had to go on Access Hollywood, which was another big one, and so yeah.
How did that feel being down there and like you grew up in Montana. I mean, you grew up like the rest of us, right?
Yep.
And then you were treated like a celebrity when you were in New York. I mean,
yeah, that I couldn't wrap my head around it again. I was like, I'm very grateful, like, and I don't take anything like that for granted. And so when I was sitting there and it just like, you know, people with cameras and all these people lined up, like just civilians around like the bike fencing around the set, and they're just like taking pictures on their phone, and like I'm kind of like the centerpiece of it all, and like my brand is like, I'm just like, this is unreal. And when I left New York, like after being there for a week, when I was in the airport, I literally just like broke into tears. I literally was in there because I was so grateful. Like and I'd never had a feeling like that, like where I was just so happy and grateful. And I just started crying, and I couldn't stop crying. I was like, this is like so, I was just so happy like that. Because I think for me in season 1, after I ended, I remember I was like, man, I got a lot of press and stuff, but I knew there was just so much more. I knew like there could have been like I could have seen myself on like these big outlets and all these things. So season 2, like a year later, and it happens. Like it was just kind of like the Cinderella story, Cinderella ending, like this fairy tale ending that like ended how I thought it should have in season 1. And so it just like, oh, it was so cool. And I just so grateful. It was awesome.
I mean, you've been in some awkward moments and stuff, but like, dude, that feeling of having to pick one person on that set, I'm sure there was tons of people around, and then obviously going out to national television, that had to be tough.
Yeah, it was definitely, it was interesting. And one thing, like, my winning date Cassidy asked me, she's like, did you know like who you were gonna did you know who you were gonna pick? Like,
yeah, of course
like,
you'd ask that.
And yeah, right. And so for me, it was tough. Like, yeah, like I mean, I brought them all out there, and I thought they're all my favorite dates, and I'm just like, I remember I thought I knew who I was gonna pick. Like I thought I was gonna pick Cassidy, but then I was like debating. I'm like, oh, do I pick her or her? Or like, I was just like there was a lot of other decisions I was thinking of.
Right.
But no, I just ultimately picked Cassidy. I thought like she was my favorite.
Wow, that's awesome. One thing I do want to say is you do sound very grateful, and I hope that you realize that everything that has happened to you is for a reason. And I know that like a lot of dudes are going to look at you and be like, oh, he got lucky, but you are very deserving for what you did. I mean, you were the one who initiated it, right? You created this whole brand, and you're very appreciative of everything. And I really appreciate that, hearing it from you, because you could be some cocky dude who's got girls in their DMs every day, but that's not how you come off. And so I just wanted to say that's super cool.
And also that you went on Good Morning America, and now here you are in Wapaton on a
thank
podcast
you.
with 5 episodes. It's
Yeah. This is a brand new podcast.
humble guy here. So we do appreciate you coming on so much.
Oh, well, no, I appreciate that, guys, and for the kind words there. I think for me, like, and it's funny because I just feel like, influencers or content creators can sometimes get like a really bad rep. And I remember like in season 1 when I was going on dates, like a lot of my dates, they want to introduce me to like their friends and stuff. And I remember like 9 times out of 10 guy friends of theirs would be like, I don't want to meet this douche.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Because they just, in their head, they're like, oh, this TikTok guy is coming to town who dates all these chicks. Like, okay, just let the douchebag walk in. Like they just like made up this thing. Like they didn't watch my videos, or they didn't follow me necessarily, but they just immediately had this like negative, viewpoint to me. But then when they met me, they were like, oh, like, and it was funny because then they'd open up, especially if like we were having drinks or something, like with all of us. Yeah. They'd be like, man, like I thought you were gonna be this douchebag, and it's like, and I never take offense to it because I guess I understand like someone's got followers, or they, if they were trying to be cocky or whatever. But I just like, I don't know, you can't treat people like that. And dude, at the end of the day, for me, like I have some followers. Like I've been in the news and stuff. Like it's not like I'm no better than anybody else.
Right.
Like it just doesn't make any,
No, and another thing too is like some of these people get a little bit of that influencer type, and I'm just gonna put it out there. They're not even quite as big as you, but
Right.
they think that they're all this, and we've had plenty of people already say no because we aren't big, because they want something in it for them. Whereas you've gotten approached by hundreds of newscasters. You have all of these people in your DMs every day. You got all of these followers, and you're still able to bring it down and realize that you're human just like the rest of us.
Yeah, man. And I think like people lose sight of that. Like if they're a content creator, like, you got to always remember everybody starts at 0. Like everybody starts with 0 followers. Everybody starts with 0 episodes. Like, like you guys just said, you guys were filming on phones, and then now you just upgraded. Like, you figure your way along the road. And I think like to always have that like humbleness and like remember where you started and things like that. And also like I want to inspire people who are content creators and like, hopefully or diving into projects or growing a brand. Like I want them to do well in their content, or I want to like, share my advice or experience with them. And so yeah, like I love doing this type of stuff. And I think, you know, there is definitely like a difference when you get like huge, right? Like if you're like The Rock, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, do you want to like be in a video? And it's like, well, like I'm The Rock type thing. And like, you know, it's such a different process. And it's maybe, and like if you were right next door to him, he'd probably be like, yeah, but like, oh, to like fly somewhere or do something when he's such a busy guy, like with all these celebrities and stuff like that. Like, I think then it gets harder when you get like ultra famous. But like for people who are just like, you know, in the content creator world or, you know, have some followers, like it's really, and it helps grow their brand too.
Right,
Like,
exactly. Like hopefully we can push this out to new people who have never seen
Yeah.
your stuff before.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the goal, like obviously as we get bigger to send more people and then more people want to come on with getting publicity for them too. So
Yeah.
little something in it for them. But anyways, I wanted to ask you about like the future of 50 Dates, 50 States. We know you had that other idea, but like you're doing content full time. Do you have any aspirations in anything different like acting or anything like that, or just mostly social media?
It's a great question. I've really like, I have a Google Doc on my computer, and it just has a ton of different new brand ideas, like new brands I'd love to create that I think have a lot of potential. That are just like nothing in relate. Some relate to 50 Dates, 50 States and like spinoffs, but most of them are just like completely new things. And so I definitely want to like try and go down that route.
Sure.
But I want to make sure I seek everything I can out to the end of 50 Dates, 50 States of where I want it to be. Because I've been in this weird gray area after season 2 to develop season 3. And there's been a lot of things that have gone into that. But yeah, so I really want to see where it can go. And my ultimate dream and end goal is for it to be like a reality show, like to be on a Netflix, Hulu, HBO, like on a streaming service. Like that is my end goal. And then so hopefully, you know, when I get it to there, then I could be like, okay, it's there, it's cruising, it's in the hands of them. That's my show that was made. And again, I have no desire to necessarily be on it. Like it's totally fine if it's run. Like I just care about the brand. Like, and so I don't have to be like, I need to be the star, I need to be the host. No, like it could be rolling. You know, like if they want to bring on Ryan Seacrest to be the host of it, that's going to bring in a bunch of viewerships. He's famous. Like, yes, please do, you know, type thing. So that's like my end goal, and hopefully when it would get there, then I could look into that idea sheet of mine and be like, okay, time to start my new brand, you know, and then just kind of start from the bare roots again. And so, but I don't know. I think it just depends on where life will take me. Again, how we were talking at the beginning of the pod of like, oh, I wanted to work in the NBA and entertainment, and then all of a sudden, a year goes by and I'm traveling the U.S. going on dates with women and you know, posting content. So it's like, who knows? I could all of a sudden in a year, I'm acting, you know, who knows? And so I don't know. I definitely for sure want to be in the entertainment world. I just like making people smile. I like the content world. I think there's a lot of good opportunities with like money in it. I also just like, I like experiencing things. I'm an experience guy. Like I love to, like, if you could either hand me a free trip to the Bahamas or like $3,000, I'll take the trip to the Bahamas. Like I like experiencing things, and I want to experience as much as I can.
Awesome. Well, I just saw that you had posted you were at ND Country Fest.
Yeah.
And I remember I saw the one TikTok where it was a girl that you were on a date with, and then she saw the other date there.
Yeah.
That hilarious video. Pop that up quick. But they're like staring each other down, like yeah. Anyway, so tell me about ND Country Fest.
Yeah, that was a blast, man. Shout out those guys. Out at New Salem this year, I had to go on a date with a different girl every night. So 4 different dates in 4 nights, which was just wild. But you know, had Renee, and she was from Fargo. Had Jenna, and she was from Bismarck. Had Kylie, and she was also from Fargo, goes to school in Iowa. And then had Kaya, who was actually my season 2 Vermont date in 50 Dates. And she flew all the way out from Vermont to be my date for ND Country Fest, which was awesome. And so, yeah, 4 dates, 4 different nights. And it was just a blast, man. Like they gave us the hookup, you know, and I created so much content around it. We free drinks and food and tickets and VIP and all these different things and like meet and greets, and like they were awesome, and it was so much fun. They actually asked me the other day if I'd come back for next year's Country Fest, and I'm like, oh, we'll see. We'll see where I'm at with things. If I'm around or it works out, I'd love to, of course.
Right.
But like, and I like kind of. I had compiled some analytics for content I shot there, and I mean, like, it was a great thing because they, I wanted to shoot content revolving around them and give them exposure, and I got them close to 10 million views in terms of just like through my content promoting them and my experiences and dates there. So like, it was a really successful collab on both parts.
Did they expect you to make those videos? Like, was that a part of the deal where we'll give you these tickets?
Yeah, it was basically, hey, do you? And it was like a first year thing, kind of trying this out, and so hopped on a call with the gentleman out there that run it, and those two guys that are great to work with, Brandon and Luke. And we just like kind of brainstormed how we wanted to do this collab. Did we want to just me go there for one day? Did we want all four? Like, how was it going to work? And so we decided a different date each night. And for me to like highlight everything I did during it and like, put them into videos and things like that. There was no like specifics of like, 10 TikToks. Like, it was never like that. It was just like, okay, we're going to do this. And then, we'll hook you up with all this stuff. And so it was really awesome though.
As far as like the future plans for you, do you see yourself getting married in the next few years? Is that a down the road kind of thing?
When are you going to settle down?
Well, see, I think, again, like how I touched on earlier, I'm just waiting to have my life calm down and not be so spontaneous and traveling everywhere. And I really want like my brand and my ambitions and dreams to get where they want to go. And once those are good, then I'll sit down and like, kind of settle down and be like, all right, like, look more seriously and things like that. But I'm just kind of prioritizing like figuring out my life and structure and get a little bit more balance in there before I, bring someone else in.
Right. So. Do you think that that's going to be a difficult thing though at the same time? Because like you got all these girls who are going to, I mean, if you're not public about it, not like you're making another season about yourself, but it's that thing of once you become kind of a little bit well known, how do you know if somebody's
in it for the right reasons?
In it for the right reasons, right. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, like if a girl was in it for the right reasons?
Like they're going to see you and they're going to see that you're all popular and they just want to date you because you have money or because you're popular. Yeah. Have you thought about that, I guess?
No, I don't. That doesn't really concern me because I think, again, kind of how you guys had asked earlier about like, do girls, can you tell when they're in it for clout or things like I think I'd be able to figure that out. And also I think it would depend on like where I was at the time with things and content. Like, would I be a lot bigger? Would things kind of fizzle out? Like, what would it be? And would they, because I've gone on dates with plenty of girls who know nothing about 50, not during the seasons, of course, but like I've gone on dates with plenty of girls like outside of 50 Dates 50 States who didn't even know what 50 Dates 50 States really was, and that's total, like, I never expect anybody to, and it's kind of refreshing in a way, because then like it always gets brought up, of course, but it's kind of refreshing because then you already know they were just interested without knowing any of that stuff. Right. And so that's kind of just like refreshing, but it doesn't make me nervous or anything like that when it comes to like settling down. Or I think it would probably make me more nervous like if I was, ultra celebrity, like famous, was really living life at a really top tier famous level. Then I'd be like, who is really interested in me? Or are they interested in money or whatever it is? So, but now I'm not worried about that at all now.
Is there anything like about you that the internet doesn't know?
Oh yeah, 100%. There's all sorts, but like for me, I like to try and just like keep a lot of stuff like off the internet, when it comes just to like personal things. And like I like to share my experiences, like whether it's like my travels, where I go eat, like if I have a drink somewhere, like if I'm with buddies, whatever. Like I like to share things like that, like outside of the 50 date stuff, or just like going on dates. But like there's a lot of stuff. Like because for me that's my way of like taking a break. Like I don't want my whole life just out there on social media. I also think I think a lot of content creators make this mistake, but like if something goes wrong, you don't have to share that like on social media. Like there's been plenty of things that have gone wrong with 50 Dates 50 States, but like as soon as you say it out, then it just opens it up for everybody. It's not just your problem now, it's everybody has an opinion on it. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, figure stuff out behind closed doors, and you don't need to like open it up to everybody to, figure out for you or, share their opinions on.
So you've been on over 50 dates because you've done 2 seasons. I'm assuming you've gotten better at going out on dates since the beginning. So what's your advice specifically about dating and that atmosphere for the guys for going out on dates with these girls?
Yeah, I think
Not that they're going to be going out
That's a
on that
great
many
question.
girls, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me, like my biggest advice for guys going on dates is one, be yourself. Like I think that's a huge thing. Like I think guys a lot of the time try to like act like they're something they're not, or act like they have more money, or that they, like I've heard of dudes like renting fancy cars to think the girl like he drives this car on the reg, right? It's like, what are you doing? Because if this works out long term, she's gonna know you're lying, And so like I think just be yourself, because you don't want to be fake to someone and then like they like you for the fake version and not the real you. Like that makes no sense. So just be your authentic self. That's the big one. And then I think two is don't set expectations. Like I see a lot of guys and girls do this where they go into a date and they because what they say is setting expectations often leads to disappointment.
Right.
And so like what a lot of people do, you meet a cute girl and you're like, you browse her Instagram and you're like, oh man, dude, I'm going to go on a date with this chick. This is awesome, And then all of a sudden when you go on and you maybe set this precedent, like, oh, I hope things go well, dude, this chick could be my wife. You know nothing about her.
Yeah.
You know nothing about her. You're setting this precedent in your head that like, oh, she's so hot. Oh, this is going to be awesome. She seems chill. Okay. And you've sent a couple messages, whatever, and you've been talking. That's all you know. You don't know anything else about her. So when you sit down and she's like maybe really awkward or doesn't like anything you do, or maybe she has a really bad attitude, you're immediately like, man, what the heck, But you're like disappointed in yourself that it didn't work because you had this like false expectation without even knowing her. So don't even set any expectation. Just go in and just like, if it goes good, cool. If it doesn't, like you're just going in to meet someone new. That's how I think you should go into every date. So that's my advice.
And I think that you like have the perfect experience for that. Like, did you find yourself setting expectations or like about what a person might be like or long term, whatever, and then just like completely have it all crash down when you actually met them? Did you follow your advice from the beginning?
Yeah, I think I kind of learned that throughout, because there were some dates that I thought, especially season 1, because season 1, I had gone on virtual dates with all these girls, and then I was visiting them all in person. So I already kind of had like a pre-date thing, And then I was so some of the girls that I had really, really good virtual dates with, I was super excited for. I'm like, oh, she was one of my favorite virtual dates. This is going to be awesome. And then when I met her in person, it was just like completely opposite. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. I'm like, what the hell, And so that was like, I would kind of learn from that. It's like, okay, I just can't expect this person to be a certain way. I'll find out for myself. And so, yeah.
What's some advice that you would have for others?
Yeah, I think the number one thing, hands down, is believe in your ideas. Hands down. Like there were, like I told you guys earlier in the pod, of like when I started this, I got nothing but like people saying, oh, this is such a good idea, such a good idea. But when I was trying to advance it, when I was like, I'm going to quit my full-time job and I'm going to go visit them all in person, then the people that I thought would be the most supportive were actually like pretty critical and pretty judgmental and like, hey, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Like, that's not like, that's a big risk. Like they looked at all the things wrong and I was like, yeah, but what if it goes right? That's how I looked at it. I'm a very optimistic person. And so I think just like, if you believe in your ideas, like you can take it wherever you want. And I think for me, like, if you give up, then the answer is no. Like like and Matthew McConaughey, his book Green Lights, he had a really good message in there, and he basically said like you have 3 options. You could either persist, pivot, or concede. And so I follow that a lot. Like you could either persist and just like keep going on the track you're going. And if that's not going how you want it, okay, pivot. How can I do this? How can I change this? How can I, move this around, but still go in the same way I want to go? I just change kind of my idea, direction, or get creative, right? Or you just wave a white flag and you concede and you give up and you chalk one up for fate and you move on. Now, like, there can be some pride in that. Like if you're just like, hey, I've done this long enough, whatever it is. But for me, I'm just so stubborn in my like pursuit of getting it to where I want to be, because to me, I want to prove the people wrong of the things they say, or for negative comments they've said towards me or my brand. I'm like, well, you just watch, type thing. And so I just, number one thing, believe in your ideas, and you can either persist, pivot, or concede.
So you've been all across the United States. I'm sure you've had some crazy experiences, but like, what are your top 3 craziest experiences that you've had that you could share?
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, oh my goodness. I guess some of the first things that come to mind is because, you know, I'm obviously like the 50 dates, 50 states guy. So going on a lot of dates and doing all my travels. I remember there was one date I was on. Oh my gosh. And she was, me and her, we were having fun, and, you know, and we were in the back seat of the 50 dates, 50 states car, and my cameraman's driving.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we're just hanging out, and she was trying to hook up while we were in the back seat of it, while he's just right there driving. And I'm like, no, we are not doing that right now. Like, let's like wait maybe until we get to the hotel. Like, and we had a little bit of a drive, so maybe, I don't know, she was just feeling it. But I'm like, all right, let's no.
Dude,
You know,
that'd be awkward for your cameraman.
Oh, that's what I was just like. I'm like, I would never do that with my cameraman right there. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? And I was like, I can't believe she just met me and him like
Yeah.
this day. I'm like, what is going on? But yeah, so that was pretty wild.
Oh, man.
I remember one that involves my dates. I have nothing to do with this. It just involved my dates. There was a handful of my dates that had, so a bunch of my dates have met. Like, they've planned trips, or they've met state to state, or if they're in that area, like a lot of them have become like friends. And so there was a group of them that had all met up, and there was like 5 or 6 of them, I think, or maybe like 4 or 5 of them or something like that. And they were all like partying and everything, and they had met this guy. This guy had come up to him, and he's like, "Hey, are you guys some of the dates? Like, I feel like I've seen you on 50 Dates, 50 States." And they were like, "Yeah, that's us," or whatever. And they thought this guy was like really attractive and whatnot. And this was like, I think this was like, I had already gone on all my dates with them or whatever, right? And they thought this guy was attractive, and they basically all went back to one of their places, and they like all did things with him.
Oh my.
Yes,
That's crazy.
yeah. And
How the hell did you
Yeah, how
find
did
out
you
about
find
that?
they told me
Really?
the dates told me. I was like, they were like,
Were those the OnlyFans ones?
No, they actually weren't.
Oh, man.
But like, I was like, when they told me, I was like, what on earth are you guys doing? I'm like, what is going on? Like, that is bizarre. I'm like, that dude, I can't even imagine what that dude is like thinking in his head. He just like went up and is like, "Hey, are you the girls for 50 days?" And then just
that
ends
happens.
up with doing stuff with all. I'm like, what on earth? Like, so when they told me that, I like,
You were like, damn, should have been me.
yeah. I'm like, what the hell? No. I wish that guy. I would love to know who that guy is and like meet that dude and be like, dude, tell me all of your side of the story. Like, that would. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
Yes.
that was pretty bizarre.
Dude, you could get a whole podcast interview with just him
Oh
from that
my
story.
goodness.
dude.
Yeah, that story could do an hour long.
Oh
yeah,
my
100%. And then another one, this is more just I remember me and my travels. I remember it was season 1. I was in Hilton Head Island in South Carolina, and I was actually staying with one of my sponsors. And he had taken me out and just kind of like shown me. I had already wrapped up my date, I think, and like a day before or whatever. And so I would just kind of had a pause, and so I would just I met him in person and was kind of checking things out with him. And he was showing me around Hilton Head Island. He's like, all right, well, and we rented a boat to go from Hilton Head to Savannah, Georgia, and that was really fun. And then that night we were going to go out and hit the town. And so I'm like, all right, yeah, let's go hit the town. And he was like older than me. He was probably like 35 or something like that. When I think in season 1 I was like 24
Sure.
or something, or 23. And so obviously big age gap. And like, he's like a sponsor, but he's like wanting to have fun and like host me and like have a good time. Like, it's not like this professional, like, you know,
Yeah.
steak dinner thing. No, it's like we're partying, having a good time. So he ends up, we go to this bar in Hilton Head Island, and then he goes, all right, well, like, I'm going to head home. Like, I'm getting pretty tired. Do you want to come with me, or do you want to stay? And I'm like, oh, I'm staying out, dude. Like, it was like, I don't know. It was like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock or something like that. I'm like, I'm staying out. I'm going to party. And like, you know, it's easy for me to make friends, like whether people know me or not. Like, I'll just like go and socialize and stuff. So I'm making friends, talk with people. And all of a sudden, you know, comes to bar close. And, you know, I've had my fair share of drinks for sure. Yeah. And all of a sudden, like, I kind of walk outside, and I'm feeling it for sure. And I've realized, I forgot he told me, because it's on an island, there's no Ubers, there's no taxis, like nothing like that. And I had, in this bar we were at, like, everybody kind of dispersed kind of quickly. And I just was like kind of on my phone for a sec. And and I just like everybody kind of left, so no one was really around, and so I couldn't just like go up and ask someone like for a ride. Like everybody had kind of just dispersed, and so I'm like, oh well, that's all right. Like I guess I'll just walk. And so and my phone was at like 5%. And so I was like, okay, so I'm gonna just start walking. And so I walk, and his house was like 9 miles away, and it was like 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning in the middle of this island in South Carolina, and I'm pretty sauced, and I'm like, all right. And I tried to take a shortcut at one point, and I fell into this ditch that was all muddy, and so I was just soaked in mud. I was just like from the waist down, I was like all muddy, and I walked for. Luckily, like it was like straight. It wasn't like all these turns. It was like straight for like 7.5, and then you took a turn. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna shut my phone off and walk. And so I basically walked muddy and drunk for like 7 miles until a cop showed up while I was walking on the highway. And he like, and for the cops that pulled up, they like were looking at me like I was a zoo animal.
Yeah.
They were like, what are you doing? And I was just like, I need a ride so much. And I explained my situation and whatever. And they were like, okay, like hop it. They were like, it was like a Friday or Saturday night. They're like, you're lucky it's been a pretty slow Friday, Saturday night for us. Yeah, hop in. And they gave me a ride. And then I got back to my sponsors and just went to bed. But I walked, like 7 miles on this island in South Carolina, all muddy. And I just like, how did I do that? Like, oh man, really burned off the calories. Holy cow.
Sometimes you need those walks though, man.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny.
Once again, dude, thank you so much for coming on. Like the type of person you are to be willing to come and do something like this, like it really shows that you don't care about how many followers a person has. Like everyone's the same to you. So we appreciate you coming on once again. Thank you to Giant Snacks for being an amazing sponsor. So one thing that we do at the end of every episode is give you one of these bags. So if you want to pick out one of these bags while I'm finished wrapping up here, that'd be amazing.
Let's do it. I gotta rock that. Oh man, which one's your guys' favorite?
Personally, dill pickle is my favorite.
Sweet Thai chili
is new though, so you could try that one out.
I think I love dill pickle, so I'm going with that.
Let's do it, bro. I'll toss it to you. Perfect.
My man, that's perfect. I got a little road trip after this, so that's perfect. I love
Perfect
seeds,
for
so that
road
works.
trips.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's great. Perfect, man. Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much again for coming on, and thank you all for watching Beyond the Spotlight podcast once again. We will see you guys next Monday. We got some great episodes coming up, so make sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you next Monday.
Peace.
Peace.
Real ones with me, I know we gon' beat the odds. Counterfeit, guess they from the thought of it. People fake, think they need to start a kid.